Gen Z is so screwed. This new study put out by Smart Assets shows how much money you need to make in 2024 to live comfortably as a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 kids by state in the United States. And as you can see, bottom line is, it is expensive. They define living comfortably as being able to pay off debt while also saving for the future. They say that if you are an individual and you want to live in a major US city, you need to make $96,500. And if you're a family with 2 kids, you need to make $235,000 in order to live in one of those cities.
Do you guys remember when stressing about money was during the 2008 recession, feeling guilty about bothering your parents about buying a Webkins because you knew everybody was a little tight for cash? How I wish it was that.
For decades, America saw itself as the land of opportunities. If you worked hard, you went to school and followed the rules, you were told that you could own a home, you could raise a family, you could live comfortably, and you could retire well, okay? So young white Americans, millions of young white Americans, that dream has turned into a nightmare to them because they can no longer live in that dream. Why? We'll come to know in this video. Grand Rising family, thank you so much for tuning in on my YouTube commentary. And I have something to talk about today. Now, it's about the young white Gen Zs, or the youths, white youths. They're all over here crying about how the entire system is falling on them and it's not working on them. But on the other hand, the youths, African youths and black youths are rising massively. Let's talk about numbers here. The average cost of college in America, it has skyrocketed. In the 1970s, a semester, for example, at a public university just cost a few hundreds of dollars. But today it can cost tens of thousands of dollars. That means that young people graduates with around 30,000 to 50,000, sometimes even 100,000 of debt, student debt. Now, you are starting your life with a debt. And first, you don't have work. You don't have a job. Now, jobs that are available, they don't even pay enough to clear that debt in a reasonable time. And that's why sometimes I say, Africa, we are better. I don't know why we are belittling ourselves, but we need not to belittle ourselves. We need to be at least strong because we got everything here. Imagine being at 22 years old, fresh out of school, already drowning in debt before you even start a life. And this is why reality hits the white Gen Zs in America today. That is the reality. Now, let me talk of housing. Housing in 1950s in America and 1960s, white families mostly benefited from the programs of like a GI Bill or G-Bill, low interest mortgages, and government-backed housing loans that helped them to buy homes at cheap prices. And that's how so many white families build wealth. Through housing programs, it was cheaper, very cheap. But right now, white Gen Zs are stuck living at home with their parents for longer than any previous generations. They can't afford to move out. They cannot afford to start families. They can't afford the life their grandparents and parents had. The system has eaten its own children. Come to healthcare. Come to wages. Wages in America have been stagnant for decades. Young white people working at Starbucks, Targets, or even maybe in an entry-level office, jobs makes barely enough even to cover basic expenses. Healthcare is another thing. Here is the reality, my people. The same dream that gave white people privilege and power is no longer functioning for their children. They are learning for the first time what it feels like to struggle under the system that doesn't care about you. But here's the difference. Black people have always known this. Black people have always looked out of the dream. They have been struggling on their own. But right now, the white Gen Zs are feeling it too, and it gets deeper. Many of them feels hopeless. The mental health care issues crisis is going up. The white Gen Zs is at all-time high depression, anxiety, suicide. It's all rising. They're growing up in a world that promoted them or promised them everything but gave them nothing. That's what I'm going to talk today, but I have some videos here of some youths, white youths, talking about this. And then let's come back. I have more to say.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me. Why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I could afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making six-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are one-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot at the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age, on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
If you graduated high school or college and went into the real world between the years of 2016 and 2025, the world hates you, and I can explain to you why. The average rent for a two-person bedroom in 2010 was $1,008. As of April of 2025, it is about $1,836 for rent. The average monthly grocery costs about $250 to $300 per person. Today, it's about $504 per person. And obviously, you're probably going to go at least twice a month. You're always not going to eat at home. You might want to go out and eat sometimes. The average cost to eat out was $11.60 per person in 2010. And in 2025, it's $15 to $20 per person. Oh, but I don't want to eat out. I want to go get some McDonald's. Depending on what you get, the average McDonald's meal price in 2010 was $5. Now it's $10. Maybe you want to go on a date and see a movie tonight. Well, in 2010, it was $7.89 per person to go see a movie. In 2025, it's $11.31 per person to see a movie. And that's just without buying concessions. To go to college in 2010, it was $112,000 with everything included, on average. And on average in 2025, it was $146,000, depending on where you go and location, but this is just the national average. And hopefully after college, you can get a good job so you can pay off this money. Well, it's gonna take you about the same time as it did in 2010. And I just graduated college and it's been about this time and I still haven't found a job yet. Cause the market sucks. You wanna know what else hasn't really changed? The minimum wage in 2010 versus today. It is still $7.25. In 2010, $100 would have been $100. And $100 today would be $139.60 in 2010, which is about an inflation increase of 39.6%. And almost everything has risen 40% due to inflation. So we're living in some good times now.
month I won't be able to afford rent. I'm not a rich person. I don't have a lot of stuff. I have basic household necessities, a couch, a bed, washer, a dryer. That's about it. A car. I don't have a lot of lavish things. I don't go on vacations, and I don't spend a lot. Rent's increased from $1,300 to $1,800. The food prices are too high. I've cut back on eating because I literally cannot afford food. I've cut back on my favorite snacks, cat food, treats. I'm exhausted all the time from being overworked and underpaid. You don't catch a break when you grow up poor. I don't need much to be happy. I just want to be able to live comfortable. I just really need to catch a break right now. I'm trying so hard and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't have family. I don't have anything to fall back.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live?
I know he kind of answered the question himself in his own video, but I want to highlight one thing he briefly mentioned and talk about it, which is that the American dream is dead. Yes, the traditional American dream, which is like doing better than your parents and being able to provide a lot for your family, is dead, or at least it's changed. Because there are many of us that are well aware that we will never be able to make as much money as our parents did. And I think my mother, who is a boomer and benefited directly from the system in place, said it best when she once said, roughly, that the American dream has changed. It's become very apparent to everyone that in this economy, Gen Z, millennials, and some Gen Xers, many of us will not be able to do better than our parents. We won't even be able to do as well as our parents. And now the American dream has become just being able to get by, being able to maybe afford a house at some point, maybe have a kid or two if we're lucky enough to make that much money. And a lot of us, myself included, who has now experienced financial related layoffs twice so far in the last 2 years since I've entered the job market. You know, those of us who feel like we're constantly in fight or flight about bills and how we're going to keep making it by, it's making us miserable and feel so hopeless. And yes, I could sit here all day and show you graphs of how inflation is going up, and while wages are going up, it's just not matching inflation. So it feels like we're all just constantly working and working, and the goalpost just keeps getting moved further and further away from us. And yeah, it has a lot of us extremely stressed and worried and feel like just giving up because we're constantly running a race where the finish line is getting moved further out. And I think it's obvious that we're all just really exhausted by it now. I know I am. I'm constantly hitting a wall with all of this. And a lot of us have to wake up every day blatantly knowing we will never do as well as our parents did. And we just have to try to make it, somewhat close to that. I'm sorry. My dad passed away several years ago on this date. So I'm just thinking about him, and sometimes I feel like he'd be proud of me, but sometimes I feel like he'd be very disappointed. But he was also an extremely intelligent businessman with multiple degrees, so I think he, more than anyone, would really understand what we're all feeling right now.
Young people are refusing to buy homes, get married, or have children in alarming numbers. And it's not a rebellion, it's survival. They're telling us something is deeply broken. Across the Western world, millennials and Gen Zs aren't just delaying adulthood, they're watching the foundations of a stable life disappear. Home ownership, they're priced out. Marriage is too expensive, and kids, they can't afford those either. The average house in places like New Zealand, the US, and the UK now costs 10 times the median income. Wages haven't kept up, student debt is crushing, and rent eats half your pay if you're lucky. And the bank, they want a 20% deposit while you're choosing between food and heating. Marriage rates are the lowest in recorded history in many developed nations. And it's not about Tinder, it's about cost of living. Weddings cost tens of thousands of dollars, and divorce costs even more. When survival is the priority, love becomes a luxury. Birth rates are dropping below replacement level in most rich countries. And not because people hate kids, but because the math doesn't work out. Daycare is like a second mortgage. One income doesn't cut it. 2 incomes don't even cut it. So people opt out. And this isn't laziness, it's a rational response to a broken system. Young people want stability, but the system is rigged against them. And when a whole generation loses hope, that's not a phase, that's a warning.
I want to know how the hell people in Canada are even living. I generally consider myself a positive person. I'm resourceful, but some stuff happened around the property, and while I know I'll never truly be homeless, I have family to live with. And, you know, like, I have options. Like, I'm luckier than a lot of other people, but how the hell is anyone existing in Canada? Like, I feel trapped. And, like, I just got a good job. I started in September, but even with that job, it pays less than 40 grand a year. And it's a job that requires, like, education, and even on that job, like, I still can't do shit. I can't buy anything. I can't afford the rent these days. Like, I'm just feeling so much despair. And I know I'm normally, like, really, really positive, but I'm just, like, how is everyone else, and are you okay? Because the answer is probably no. And I know I'm lucky. I don't have kids. I have, like, good family that will support me, but I feel like I can't stay here, but I can't move anywhere else, because anywhere else I move to, I'm gonna be charging, like, the landlords are just gonna charge me like $2,500 a month in rent. Like, unless I move into the middle of literally nowhere where there are 0 jobs, and I'm just feeling really overwhelmed. And, like, I don't know. There's a part of me that just wants to say, F it, and just get a whole bunch of credit cards and just travel and just, like, get out of Canada, because, like, I know it's bad everywhere. I really do. But I don't know. At 33 years old, like, I was really hoping that I could at the very least afford, you know, a small house. I don't want 3,100 square feet bullshit. I just want something small, 500 square feet, even less. And yet, it's so fucking expensive. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Welcome back. Now, the first reason with the white Gen Zs, they are trapped, is because they inherited a system that was already broken. Their parents and grandparents lived during times of opportunities when America was on top of the world. After World War II, America dominated global markets, factories were booming, manufacturing jobs paid well. A white man with just a high school diploma could buy a house, raise a family, and retire with pension. Okay? But over the decades, America shipped those jobs overseas. Corporation moves factories to China, Mexico, or Southeast Asia. And they moved there because labor was cheap. Okay? The jobs that stayed in America were low-wage service jobs. So white Gen Zs were born into this era of outsourcing and globalization. So they didn't destroy the dream, but they inherited the wreckage, the weak dream. Okay? Their grandparents were told that go to school and you will succeed. For them, it was true. College was affordable and the degree guaranteed you a good job. But with the white youths, education became a trap. Universities kept raising tuitions, bank kept handing out student loans, and now generations is chained to billions of dollars in debt before they even start adulthood, you know? So they believed in the myth, go to college, take loans, get a good job. Instead, they came out of college with debt and low-paying jobs that don't even require degrees. They don't even require degrees. So the very ladder that lifted the previous generation is now the cage trapping the white Gen Zs. Another trap is the inflation. Prices are rising each and every single year, but wages stay stagnant. You know what that means. You cannot raise price of commodities and the wage remains stagnant. It will be too bad on you. For example, in 1970s, the minimum wage in America was like $1.60. That sounds smaller, but today, money that equals, it's almost $12 an hour. You get that? So white Gen Zs working just as hard, sometimes harder, but getting less in return. So the system makes sure they run in circles. Housing markets too rigged against them. Owning a home used to be foundation of the American dream, but now the housing market is another trap. Okay? Corporations and wealthy investors buy up homes in bulk, rent them out for higher prices, and lock young people out of ownership. Healthcare is another issue. America is the only rich nation where getting sick can bankrupt you. Okay? So white Gen Zs are trapped by medical bills. If they don't have insurance, one accident or one illness can destroy their financial future. So if they do have insurance too, they are still paying hundreds of dollars a month for coverage that doesn't protect them fully. Okay? So medical debt is one of the things that is leading, that is causing bankruptcy in America. So imagine being young, broke, in debt from college, and then having to worry about one emergency that is wiping you out completely. Okay? We have mental health crisis, and that's where white Gen Zs are facing right now. Okay? It is the worst in history in America. Anxiety, depression, and hopelessness are at record level. So many are turning to drugs, social media addiction, and escapism because they don't see a way forward. Okay? Another thing, we have technology that work against the white Gen Zs. Technology which was supposed to be a tool for freedom has become another trap. Social media shows them fake images of success that they can't even reach. Okay? Instead of being free to use technology to build, most white Gen Zs are using it to compare themselves, stress themselves, and distract themselves. So the system knows how to keep them entertained while being trapped in reality. On the other hand, black youths in America or in Africa, they are adapting and thriving. Okay? Let me start with the history. Black people in America have never had a system working in their favor. Okay? Black people were enslaved for centuries, segregated, locked out of housing programs, loans, and opportunities. So every time they built something, from Black Wall Street in Tulsa to thriving neighborhoods in cities across America, the system tried to burn them down. But let me tell you, black people survived, adapted, and found ways to rise. Even when the game was rigged against them, today, the spirit of the resilience has been passed down to the youths. Okay? So, while white Gen Zs are now experiencing struggle for the first time, black youths are drawing from generations of survival. Okay? So, we have been saying this. Pressure makes diamonds. I have been saying this. Pressure makes diamonds. The pressure of oppression has produced a generation of black diamonds. Youths who know how to create something out of nothing. Okay? Black youths dominate culture everywhere, whether in music, in fashion, in sports, in language. Black creativity sets the tone. Hip hop, R&B, drill, trap, Afrobeat. So these are not just music gens or Jones. These are global movement started and shaped by black youths. Okay? On this other social media, black creators or white Gen Zs may be stressed, depressed, and struggling, but they are consuming the culture created by black youths every single day. Okay? They wear clothes black people design, dance to the music we make, and use slang we create. So culture is power, and black youths have mastered how to turn their creativity into influence. Another way black youth are adapting is through entrepreneurship. Okay? So when jobs don't pay enough, we create our own jobs, from clothing lines, healthcare businesses, and food trucks to digital platforms. So black youths are finding ways to monetize their skills. Okay? On the other hand, I see social media has opened ways of new doors. Young black people with phones and Wi-Fi build a brand, sell products, or share their art with the world. Okay, and it's working. It is working. Black youths too are not just consumers of technology. They are innovators within it. Okay, from coding, boot camps, to cryptocurrency investments. So many young black Americans are finding ways to use tech to escape financial traps. I'm not saying that white youths are not doing that, but what I'm saying is that the system, the white youths believe in a system, and they became lazy at a little bit. They were not hardened, let me use that word. They were not hardened to face any harsh times. They were not hardened to hit the rock. So when the rock is here and it hit one of them, it dismantles you. So that's the problem with the white Gen Zs. And that's why they are so influenced with black culture. They are moved with black culture, using black fashion, okay? So the difference is that the Gen Zs or black youths are turning struggle into strength, okay? White Gen Zs face obstacle. They often collapse under the weight because they were told life should be easy. But black youths, they knew from the birth that life will be a struggle. So when that struggle comes, it's not a surprise. It's just part of the journey. That was about black youths in America. When I talk about Africa, Africa is rising too. Because, while white Gen Zs in America are trapped in debt, rent, and hopelessness, African youths are rising as the future of the world. And this is not just an opinion, this is fact. The numbers, the trends, the energy, everything points to one reality. Africa is the frontier of tomorrow. Let me begin with the demographics. Over 70% of Africa population is under 30 years old. That means that Africa is the youngest continent in the world. Compare that to Europe, where population are aging and shrinking. In countries like Italy, Germany, and even America, birth rates are declining and young people are fewer. And that's why Japan need Africans to go there. They are setting aside cities that Africans will go there. When I say in Africa, the youths are majority, that means that Africa is not just the present, it is the future again. The workforce of the world will come from Africa. The innovators of the future will be Africans. The leader of tomorrow will be Africans. And this is why Africa is so important. This is why the system fears Africans rising. When you see about technology across the continent, young Africans are leading tech revolutions. Nairobi is called the Silicon Savannah. Lagos in Nigeria is home of billion-dollar tech companies. South Africa is thriving tech hubs. Ghana is building innovation centers. So young Africans are creating apps that solve African problems. Mobile banking systems like we have M-Pesa in Kenya, okay, which changed the way of payment, okay? Apps that allow people without banks to move money. So remember this, many young Africans are coding on laptops powered by solar panels, building solutions where government failed. This is resilience and brilliance, okay? On agriculture, over 60% of the world's uncultivated arable lands, and young Africans are waking up to this reality, and they are turning agriculture into a business using drones, apps, and modern methods to farm smarter, not harder. From organic farms to agri-tech startups, youths are making agriculture profitable again. And here's the difference. While white Gen Zs are locked out of home ownership in America, young Africans are buying lands, farming lands, and building wealth from the soil. And that is the future. Food security, self-sufficiency, and Africa wealth built on African land. Let me get real. America has always sold itself the land of dreams as the land of milk and honey. And even they have took a lot of our African youths because we believed on that. I won't lie. Once in a lifetime, anyone from Africa believed on that, or they are still believing that America is the land of opportunities. And the youngest white generation is waking up to a reality that doesn't match the dream they were promised. They're facing record-breaking rent prices, impossible student loans, healthcare costs that can bankrupt you. So the average white Gen Zs right now, or the average white Gen Z, they are realizing that America, their parents told them about, is no longer existing. And the irony is, while many of the white youths are just discovering the struggle for the first time, black youths and Africans have been living under these kinds of pressure for generations. We already been through this and we already knew where to pass. We have in this movie, we have been in this game. And that's why black youths are more prepared, and we already know what it means to live without a safety net. We know how to make a dollar stretch, how to support one another in this economy. And that's why I say stick on Africa, stick on black. Don't and love yourself as a black person, because you are great and you are the future and you are unbreakable and you are adapted. You can adapt easily. That's what I'm going to talk today. Until next time, peace out.